Today's episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Ultimate Baseball GM. Ever dreamed about becoming a Major League Baseball general manager and managing your own baseball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimatebaseballgm.com or look it up at the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game. Now let's start the podcast. It's Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as you can tell from my lower third there, call me Sully. I am an Emmy-nominated television producer who has been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I'm now in fifth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. As I mentioned earlier, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm your pal Sully. But Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And be sure to have a smart device to play podcast Locked On MLB, or check out some of the other great shows on the Locked On Podcast Network, including Locked On Marlins with Peter Pratt. We had a great conversation last week. So, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do this from time to time. I'm recording this section of the podcast you're listening to right now on Friday night. All the games are over on Friday night. And I'll just give you a couple of my thoughts. And by the end of the show, I'm going to record after the games on Friday, after the games on Saturday for the second segment, the games on Sunday for the third segment, and basically kind of give us an overview of what happened over the weekend. I'm not going to go over every single game, just some of the things that, caught my attention. Sometimes you see something that is an interesting trend. Sometimes you see an interesting story, maybe you missed. And I just want to talk about some stuff. First of all, some heartstrings were pulled in Pittsburgh in their big opener. The return of Andrew McCutchen, and McCutchen got a pair of hits. He was caught stealing, but it's great to see him back. He meant a lot to Pirate fans, and it's difficult to really quantify what he meant to Pirate fans. He obviously had some wonderful seasons. He won the National League MVP one year, and it was a wonderful player his time with the Pirates. And obviously, he's in the back nine of his career. He doesn't have many more years left. And returning to Pittsburgh is a little bit of a sentimental journey. But think about what he accomplished. For 3 years, 2013, 2014, 2015, the Pirates were a playoff team. Between 1992 and 2013, that's 21 years. 21 years. Not only did the Pirates not go to the playoffs, they didn't even have a winning season. With a nanosecond, Barry Bonds left, and it was in the wake of just 3 consecutive years of 3 heartbreaking National League Championship series. One where they lost to the Reds in 6. They were probably the better team that year. They were certainly the better team in 1991 against the Atlanta Braves. And then they were tremendous underdogs in 1992, but they brought the Braves down to their final out. And, of course, the Francisco Cabrera hit happened, and Bonds and Drabek and everybody left, but there was plenty of time to rebuild, but nothing ever happened, and horrible draft picks and mismanagement. And McCutchen arrived, and eventually they got very good again. And they got to the division series. They won the wild card game in 2013. But then they hit that double buzzsaw. Madison Bumgarner threw a complete game shutout against them at home. They were in PNC Park in 2014. Giants go on to win the World Series. And then Jake Arrieta throws a complete game shutout against them in 2015, again in PNC Park. And again, they were the second best team in baseball that year. And I've said this before, Cubs fan when Nate hates this, I am absolutely convinced that if the Pirates won that wild card game, they would have won the pennant. Would they have beaten Kansas City? I don't know, and neither do you. But I think they would have beaten the Cardinals. I think they would have beaten the Mets or Dodgers and gone to the World Series. McCutchen was the leader of that team. McCutchen put a face of winning in Pittsburgh for the Pirates, in a city where there was lots of winning going on with the Penguins and the Steelers. But the Pirates were perennial, not proverbial, perennial. Got my P words mixed up there for Pirates. Pittsburgh Pirates perennial doormats. Going to come up with another P. And he helped change the culture. And for those 3 years, that window of opportunity, the Pirates were a really exciting team. And if things had aligned the way they did in Kansas City when they went to back-to-back pennants, winning in 2015 against the New York Mets, if one of those years aligned, it would have been one of those magical moments for a team that has had unbelievable heartbreak over the generations, not having been to the World Series since the first World Series that I remember, which is the 1979 Pirates. Are the Pirates going to be good this year? Probably not. They won in the game against the Chicago White Sox and improved the record to 5-2. So, at least in the first week, they're off to a nice start. And McCutchen, got a couple of hits, and the Pirates' offense exploded with a 4-run fourth and a 5-run fifth. If only they had a 6-run sixth. And Reynolds is the one who is, rumored to be traded all offseason, and he is just coming through, and he is up to, 5 home runs already. I hope he sticks around. I hope they sign him. I hope the Pirates turn it around. And if the Pirates do go on and win a pennant in the next couple of years, I hope McCutchen is there at least as a, maybe as a reserve or a DH. So I was really happy to see him get that standing ovation. That's a good thing. By the way, it's very early in the season. I know, and you shouldn't be, I mentioned the Pirates are 5-2, which is great. You start, at least if you're going to try to be a surprise team, start off well. But I have an adage that I say every year. It's never the wrong time of the year to go on a winning streak. It's never a wrong time of the year to go on a pace where you just are blowing everyone out of the water. If someone goes on a, 7, 8, 9, 10 game winning streak in April or in September, neither time's the wrong time. It's always the right time to do it, which brings us to the 1884 St. Louis Maroons. Oh, wait, I mean the 2023 Tampa Bay Rays. They played home run freaking derby at Tropicana Field. And there were so many home runs that they were hitting left and right in the game against Oakland. Which, by the way, Oakland wound up hitting a bunch of home runs as well. But Isaac Paredes hit a grand slam. Harold Ramirez hit a home run. Christian Bettencourt hit a home run. Think about this for a second. Why did I bring up the 1884 St. Louis Maroons? All right. The Rays are 7-0. And every one of those 7 wins has been by a 4-run or more margin, including the game where they came from behind in the 9th inning in Washington. And they wound up winning that game 10-6 with a 7-run rally in the 9th inning. This is the longest streak like that since the 1884 St. Louis Maroons. They had a 13-game streak to start it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's not a lot of St. Louis Maroons fans left. But anytime you have to go back in time to pull up an obscure team like that, that's unbelievable. This is the streak the Rays are on. They're going to play Oakland on Saturday. If they sweep the series with the Oakland A's, and the A's, the A's don't have a good record to start the year, but they've been playing some of the teams tough at least. I mean, they gave the Cleveland Guardians fits when they were in Oakland last week. But if the Rays wind up going 9-0, that will match the 2003 Kansas City Royals for the longest streak to open a season in the wild card era. Now, of course, the Royals that year, who did finish with a winning record, did not make the playoffs. a great start like that doesn't guarantee stuff. I remember the Milwaukee Brewers went on an unbelievable streak to start the 1987 season, and they finished, distant also rans to Detroit, Toronto. But the Rays knew that in many people's eyes, they were the third team in that division. I picked the Toronto Blue Jays. A lot of people picked the Yankees. Remember, the Rays won the pennant in 2020 and won 100 some odd games in 2021. And last year were decimated with injuries. Well, now they're healthy again. And they're making mincemeat out of their opponents. Yeah, it's early. It's never the wrong time to win 7 in a row. And it's never the right time to blow a big lead. And I'm looking at you, Angels. The Angels have lost 3 out of 7. They're 4-3, which is not bad, but 2 of their 3 losses have been inexcusable. They had the game where Shohei Ohtani was dominating Oakland with 6 shutout innings and 10 strikeouts and everything like that. The bullpen lost that game. And the game today, the home opener in Anaheim, got 2 hits from Ohtani, a terrific pitching performance by Sandoval, and a massive home run from Mike Trout. And guess what? They lost. They lost to Toronto. Look it's early, but again, like it's never the wrong time to win 7 in a row. It's never the right time to lose a game you have no business losing. And if the Angels miss the playoffs by just a couple of games, these are the ones you have to look back on and say, like, oh, man, we did everything right. We lost. Anyway, fun day of baseball on Friday. We're going to see what happens on Saturday and see if the St. Louis Maroons streak will continue to be threatened by the Tampa Bay Rays. I got to get myself a maroon hat. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Pro Baseball GM. It's the coolest game I've played in a long time. And I've mentioned on this show, I've been doing my own kind of alternate universe fantasy baseball, create a new league and treat it as my own general manager games since I was a kid, with baseball cards, Stratomatic, Digital Diamond, Pursue the Pennant, Hardball, all these different ways I've done it. The best way to do it I've ever experienced is Pro Baseball GM, the ultimate Pro Baseball GM. And guess what? The game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise, playing through seasons and leading your franchise and fans to glory as you build a historic dynasty. In the simulation, you're responsible for hiring the right coaches and staffs, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, managed through difficult personalities and injuries, and navigating your franchise through free agency and the ups and downs of the season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go. Play as you want and play when you want to. Locked On MLB listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit ProBaseballGM.com, scan the code, or look it up at the App Store. That's ProGMBaseball.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. Hey, new sponsor we have today, RocketMoney. Guess what? Do you ever look up and you wonder how many subscriptions you've forgotten about? Guess all the different subscriptions and, I paid for this app, I paid for that app. And do you know what? You can use RocketMoney to track down all of your changes in your spending or subscription and save yourself a lot of money. Did you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscription when the total cost is closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you're going to need RocketMoney. And if rising prices are stressing you out, you're looking for ways to cut costs, RocketMoney is great for you. RocketMoney is a personal finance app that finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people who have subscription they forgot about, and chances are you're one of them. Like that Stars apps that you use just to watch one show or that free gaming trial you never used. RocketMoney will quickly and easily find your subscriptions. And if you don't want to pay for them anymore, just hit cancel and it'll cancel it for you. It's that easy. RocketMoney helps you manage all your finances in one place, automatically categorize your expenses, You can easily track your budget in real time and getting alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used RocketMoney, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Stop throwing money away, cancel an unwanted subscription, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. Hey, looking over what happened on Saturday. Way to go, Angels. You won a game where Mike Trout came up big. He had a big 3-run home run to put the Angels ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays. And that's how you win some games. And as of right now, as of this recording, the Angels are in first place. Is it early? Of course it's early. It's Easter morning. That's pretty early in a season. But for the Angels, hey, at least they're starting off okay. Now, the thing that's kind of disturbing if you're a member of the American League West is that nobody's really taking advantage of a not exactly stellar start by the Houston Astros, who lost again to the Minnesota Twins. But hey, at least the Angels won a game that they should have won last night. Meanwhile, the march to the St. Louis Maroons continues as Tampa Bay put up an 11 spot. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it again. They completely pounded Oakland. They're continuing their great run, their perfect start, where they've won every game by at least 4 runs. By the end of the game, the A's were playing their backup catcher as a pitcher. I'm sorry. When that happened once in a while, like maybe once a year a team would do that, that was kind of fun. It's not fun anymore. And in fact, I think it's a travesty when you saw, I believe it was Arozarena hit a home run off of the poor catcher there. Baseball should be able to wave the white flag. If you're bringing in a position player to pitch, you are waving the white flag. You're saying we surrender. That's it. We're not going to use any more pitchers. And if that's the case, why are you risking any injury? So look at those should count as home runs. That should be a chance. The A's should say, "Hey, can we say we give?" And if the Rays agree, then you say we give. Some more things happened. The Reds blew a game where they had the lead going. They were leading 2-0 on the bottom of the ninth, and all of a sudden the bullpen collapsed. The Phillies got a big win. That was actually kind of a big win for the Phillies in that at least gave their fans something to cheer about. They would have fallen to 2-6 to start the season, which again, way too early to panic, but it puts a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you know that Bryce Harper is not going to be hanging around anytime soon. And I just want to also point out one more huge thing, and that is the Jordan Walker is off to a start that we haven't seen since Ted Williams. He's got a hit in each of his first 8 games, which Ted Williams did, and very few people. But he's slashing with a 355 average, a 394 on base, a 613 slugging over his first 8 games as a major leaguer. And some people criticize, and I was one of them, that the Cardinals didn't do enough this offseason. Well, maybe they know their farm system a little better than your pal Sully. That appears to be the case. And Walker has come right in to become, well, let's face it, a star right out of the gate. Hey, let's get this lower third out of there. Yeah, it's a tremendous job that he's been doing so far. So they have a superstar going on their team. So a couple other things. The D-backs, we'll talk about this with Millard when he's on. D-backs are tied with the Dodgers. That's pretty cool at this point. And the Red Sox absolutely clobbered. The Red Sox can score runs. It's their pitching that makes me scratch my head from time to time. But the other thing is that Jordan Montgomery, we talked about the Cardinals, Jordan Montgomery was absolutely tremendous in his game against the Cardinals against Milwaukee. I said it's never the wrong time to go on a 7 or 8 game winning streak. It's also never the wrong time to pitch well against your chief rival. The Cardinals are supposedly the team to beat in the Central, and the Brewers are probably going to be their biggest challenger. So every time you could go head to head, and he struck out 9 in 7 innings, well, you know what? That's not so bad. By the way, Jeffrey Springs has thrown 2 games. He pitched 6 no-hit innings his first game and 7 shutout innings his next. It's pretty early, but Cy Young watching Jeffrey Springs of the unstoppable Tampa Bay Rays. Well, games are about to start on Sunday as I'm recording this, so we're going to find out what happened there. But first and foremost, our new sponsor, So Rare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 major league teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. So Rare recently partnered with MLB All-Stars Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez to serve as brand ambassadors. Both are featured in So Rare current brand campaign and will engage with the So Rare community throughout the season at MLB events. MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of the game week, So Rare major league managers who rank near the top of the rewards will win a variety of rewards, which include So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set up your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. All right, we're here. It's Sunday. It's going to sound like I'm picking on the Angels, and maybe I am. But here's the deal. I want to see the Angels do something this year and make it so that the highlight for Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout is not just the World Baseball Classic. But here's the deal. We're not even in mid-April, and the Angels have already lost 3 games they have no business of losing. Today, they're up 6-0. 6-0. And then had the winning run in scoring position in the 9th and in the 10th. 3 games. There are 3 games. I've counted 3 games so far. Have we even played 10? Actually, I don't even know. I don't even know at this point. Have the Angels played 10 games yet? No, they played 9. So a third of the games that they've played, they've lost where they have no business losing. Look, it sounds like I'm being tough. But if just, you know what? One of those games, let's say 2. If 2 of those games were in the win column, I'll give them one inexcusable loss. They would have started the season 7-2, and people would be sitting there going, oh, look at that. Instead, despite the fact that Houston stumbled out of the gate, Houston is 2 games back in the loss column. They're going to be in first place by the end of next week. These games count just as much. And it's the losing of these types of games that are going to make it really hard because they're going to start losing the games they're supposed to lose pretty soon. It sounds rough, but if we're checking in at the end of the year and the Angels are out of it by a couple of games, you'll remember we had this talk. Hey, some people did come up big time. Obviously, Tampa Bay is continuing their big, huge run. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in tomorrow's show with Millard Thomas. Drew Rasmussen pitched a tremendous game for the Tampa Bay Rays. Once again, 7 innings, 1 hit ball, struck out 8, and the Rays just manhandled Oakland 11-0. Aaron Judge, remember him? He had a couple of home runs. The Yankees beat the Orioles 5-3. Garrett Cooper homered and doubled. The Marlins won against the Mets. I still think the Marlins are a dangerous team. And look out for the Pirates. The Pirates are starting off. Look at, obviously, as I said, it's way too early to look at the standings. But the fact that, the Pirates are winning games, and Johan Oviedo, 7 shutout innings. Hey, I mean, at least it makes going to a Pirate game kind of fun. But I think about poor Hunter Renfroe with the Angels. He homered. He singled. He got a 9th inning game tying double. And for what? A 12-11 loss by the Angels. If you're up by 6 runs and you score 11 runs during a game, you got to win that game. You got to win that game. But, interesting things happen. We saw the Cardinals and the Brewers. The Brewers wound up winning the series. I do think the Cardinals are going to get off the mat, but hey, good for the Brewers. And it's important, and I talked about this last week. It is more important for Milwaukee to get out to a good start than St. Louis. St. Louis is the talent to win the division. We all know that. And with some of the young kids they're getting, great production from, fantastic. But Milwaukee, if they got off to a bad start, if they started, stumbled out of the gate, and we're going to May, we're already 4 or 5 out, then you start looking at, do you trade Corbin Burns? Do you blow the team up? In a division where ostensibly, a word that I have a lot of trouble saying, ostensibly, the Cardinals seem to be the only team trying in that division. In order to be a surprise team in that division, come out of the gates firing. And that's what the Pirates are doing. They kept Reynolds, and so far that's been working. And so far they're off to a nice start. 7-2, which, by the way, should be the start the Angels are on. They should be 7-2, but that's not the point. The point is the Brewers did the right thing. They've won some games, and they're starting the season off on the right foot. As we enter mid-April, that would be tomorrow on Monday. You'll probably listen to this on Monday. Some interesting matchups are coming up. Those Pirates are facing the Astros. The Astros are coming into town. Remember when I had H-Town Wheelhouse on last week, and he was saying, God, some teams are playing the Astros better than we thought. That's right. For the Pirates, this is a chance in front of their hometown fans to put a target on the Astros. You're going to see some intensity there. Meanwhile, the Rays are going to be playing the Red Sox. The Red Sox could score. You saw what they did with Detroit. And now the Rays are off to this historic start. Can Pivetta stop them? It's an interesting sentence to say. And the Mets and the Padres are an interesting possible playoff preview. But the Brewers are facing the Diamondbacks, who are also off to a good start. They smacked around the Dodgers. We'll talk about that with H-Town. Dodgers, the Giants are facing off. And those Angels are welcoming the Nats. The Nats are not very good. Now's the time to pad your win total, Angels. I'd like to see playoff baseball in Anaheim. I'm not an Angels fan. I'm a fan of good baseball, watching the best players play. And you're not going to get there if you keep losing games you're not supposed to lose. I sound harsh, but these games count just as much. You can't pile them up. And so far, they are. So, all right, we're going to wrap this up. This has been my weekend in review. And I'm going to do this from time to time, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me just say that I want to thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Baseball wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. You can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Reviewing a fun weekend and lecturing the Angels a little bit. This has been Locked On MLB for Sunday, April 9th, 2023. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.